Hey folks, welcome to episode number 71 of the Avocado Gamescast, the only gaming podcast with Enid Blyton references. If you're a fan of both first-person shooters and mid-century English children's literature, then you have come to the right place, my friend. I'm your host, Merve, and today I'm joined by our editor, the Kappa,
Hey there.
and podcast newcomer, ThoughtsThoughtsThoughts.
Hi.
How are you doing, Thoughts?
I am so much better today than I was 2 days ago.
Glad to hear it. I think a lot of us are breathing sighs of, I guess, relief right now. So,
Yeah.
great news all around. So, as our listeners know, this is a community-driven podcast, and we've been thinking of ways we can better involve the community in what we do. And one experiment that we thought might help us achieve that goal would be to talk to Avocado community members about their tastes in games and get to know them better as gamers and more broadly as people who consume art. So we're kind of doing two experiments at once right now. We've got a new podcast format and a new guest. And a good scientist would tell you to only change one thing at a time, but we are not good scientists here. We change everything at once and then try to figure out what worked and what didn't from changing multiple things at a time. My boss would hate me right now. So today we're chatting with Thoughts about her gaming experiences, in particular, how it felt for her to play through the Kingdom Hearts series, which she and I kind of did in parallel, by which I mean she did it about 3 times as fast as I did. And it's an appropriate thing to talk about because we're recording this on the 8th of November. And the next game of the series, Melody of Memory, is set to come out in just a few days. And I'd be excited personally if I were capable of actually playing rhythm games. I'm really, really bad at them. Anyway, before we get to that, we're going to take a few minutes to talk about what we've been playing or watching or doing in the world of art lately. So, Kappa, what have you been playing?
I wish I had a better answer for this because I haven't been playing much. A lot of phone games. It's been a weird time for me. I'm starting a new job, so it's a lot of Zoom meetings. I think like every hour they can schedule a Zoom meeting in. They've been scheduling one in, so I've just been on my phone kind of paying attention, but doing some stupid phone games here and there. It's been a weird week for me, but I mean, what I have been playing is a lot of Destiny as always. I got banned last month, which was kind of traumatic for me. You know how much I play it. I was running a memory editor for another game, trying to actually fix the game that was broken. It was kind of a game with some issues with it. Our Iron Harvest, if you've heard or played about it. So I had some issues. I was trying to fix some issues with the Fog of War. Thought I had it fixed. Realized that while I was editing the memory, I had Destiny open in the background the entire time.
Oh no.
So I got banned. It sucks. I basically had to start over, but I got a lot of good friends who are helping me out. So, and the good thing is the new expansion hits Tuesday, so it's kind of a good time to get banned. So if anybody else is in the same boat as me, don't worry too much about it. So that's been my week for the most part. Lots of Zoom meetings and trying to catch back up and where I was on Destiny.
Yeah, that sounds like I think a lot of us have been kind of like fiddling around on our phones during
Yeah.
meetings now. Like I have 2 monitors, and sometimes when I just have to, sometimes I have to attend presentations that are completely irrelevant to what I actually do.
Right.
So I'll have like the presentation up on one monitor, and I'll be playing like a browser snake game on the other monitor.
Yeah, Zoom meetings. I mean, I've hated meetings my whole life, but Zoom meetings in particular have so much dead time. Do you know what I mean? Where it's just, oh, who's on the call? Who's doing this? Who's, like it's hard to explain, but it just feels like the meetings that would normally take 10 minutes take 2 hours for that reason. And I actually really hate them, like with a passion, but it's how they're training us right now. So I don't have much choice in the matter about how um, I'm going to sit through them. But I am not a fan of the Zoom environment at all.
Oh yeah, same here. There's a lot of technical difficulties because not everyone has fantastic internet. So a lot of
Right.
people like dropping in and out. Sometimes video and audio falling out of sync. Um, really highlights the importance of getting good internet to the entire populace.
Oh, yeah, that's maybe the next 4 years. We'll see.
All right, thoughts? What have you been up to lately in terms of what you've been playing, watching, etc.?
Uh, my wife and I, with emphasis on my wife, have been playing Mass Effect. Actually, we finished Mass Effect, the full trilogy, not Andromeda.
Oh yeah, right before the remaster got announced.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
good timing.
yeah. It was sort of one of the like big games that she'd never played, and I was looking for a game to sort of play since I can finally play video games again. Um, and uh, so we decided this would be the one that we would do together. And I would say it was roughly 4/5 my wife and 1/5 me, but but it was fun.
That's valid.
Yeah.
So you're like, what kind of character did you play as?
Oh God, I can't even remember the names. It was the one that's the combination of like soldier and biotics.
Vanguard, I think.
Yeah.
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 And obviously female shepherd. So.
I don't think I've ever played a male shepherd, honestly. I mean, the
Yeah.
voice acting, Jennifer Hale nails it.
Yeah,
it was Mark Meir does the male voice, I think.
Yeah,
and-
he's actually pretty good at it. It's just
he's
that
generally
Jennifer
good.
Hale's performance is so iconic that I think
Yeah.
people gravitate towards her.
I think partly
work.
if you play kind of like a more aggressive shepherd, maybe Mark Meir works a little bit better. But yeah, if you're kind of like, oh wow, this is a new world. I'm kind of like wide-eyed, starry-eyed. I think Jennifer Hale just is so much better. But yeah.
Yeah. So you went through all three games like in succession?
Yeah, just one right after the other.
Oh wow. I think there's like about a year gap between when I did each Mass Effect, which gave me a lot of time to forget what was going on. But yeah, I think it's been a long time since I've played the series, but with the announcement of the remaster, I've been kind of thinking of jumping back in. What was kind of your highlight of going through the series?
My highlight of Mass Effect. I mean, honestly, Liara.
Oh yeah, she is pretty great.
Yeah. I think the best scene was actually, I think, a scene that was a DLC edition in the second one, because Liara is like barely in the second one if you don't have the DLC scenes,
Yeah.
but there's a DLC scene where you're like helping her do shadow broker stuff, and you're like chasing some guy in a hover cab, and Shepard and Liara are fighting about driving.
Yeah. That part is pretty great.
Yeah.
It's
I don't-
awesome how many of those like moments kind of really shine. Like when it's just the two companions talking as you're exploring around. That's I think kind of the strength of a lot of the BioWare mojo, I guess.
Yeah, like there's some really great like just character stuff that's just fun. That was fun even just to kind of watch, even when I wasn't playing. So
Yeah, especially in the third game where they integrate the banter a little bit better into the gameplay. So you'll be like running around shooting stuff, and your companions will be commenting on it. I think that's kind of the sweet spot that they were able to hit in the later games.
Yeah, I think Dragon Age Inquisition is where they finally, got that almost down to a science where, different scenes, different scenarios, different companion combinations have different reactions to things. And I think one of the smart things they did with that series too is kind of removed companion reactions to things from your alignment, because that can be kind of a pain, when in some of the earlier Dragon Ages, if you say the wrong thing in front of the wrong companion, it penalizes your alignment system, which is not always what you want. There was still some of that in Dragon Age Inquisition, but a lot less of it.
Yeah, in Origins, what you have to do is basically you have to play nice in front of everyone,
Right.
and then
Right.
sweet talk Morrigan later and convince her that you're actually really Machiavellian.
Yeah. It's kind of the same way in Inquisition with what's her name?
Vivienne.
The Red Jenny character.
Oh, not Vivienne. Sora.
Is it Sora? I don't
Sarah?
know.
Sarah? Sarah,
Sarah,
S-E-R-A.
yeah, Sarah would know from that song.
Sora's a Digimon character.
It was just kind of hard to kind of role play my character around Sarah because she was so convinced that this was all like kind of like almost like in a really jokey way, and I was like, this my Inquisitor is kind of taking this a little seriously, like so it was hard. But yeah, I really enjoyed the banter, I guess. The banter system doesn't get a lot of talk, but that was a good one.
Yeah, it's great that that Bioware still is focusing on these party-based RPGs, especially as like the Western RPG world is moving more towards kind of that lone wolf vibe, especially influenced by CD Projekt Red's work, and even more open world games that have RPG elements also have that kind of lone wolf thing going on. So I'm glad that at least one developer out there is still making the big party-based games. So I've been playing, speaking of party-ish based games, I've been playing Genshin Impact, which is the new open world free-to-play action RPG from MiHoYo. I don't really know what to say about it other than it. It is a Chinese RPG, but it's also extremely anime, for lack of a better descriptor. The world design is very artistically. It's like midway between Breath of the Wild and a Tales game, and but gameplay wise, it's very much like whack things with a sword and throw magic spells at them until they die. It's not a very difficult game. The only ways I've died so far are from like falling to my death, not from like dying in combat. Also, kind of a very repetitive game. You basically do the same things over and over and over again. And I think the main draw for most people is either co-op, which you unlock once you get through, I think, the first 15 levels of the game, or the real draw, which is where they make the big bucks, is the gacha system, where it's a system that I like to call stochastic waifus. The reason being, you like roll virtual dice, and there's a small percentage that you'll unlock a new character to add to your party. And it's usually some anime girl or anime boy who's designed to look as appealing as possible, and usually has some pretty powerful abilities as compared to the default characters. So that's where they're making the big bucks, because they've already made back their budget within a few months of debuting the game. So I guess it's working out pretty well for them.
It's a weird time for a lot of those types of games, right? Like, it seems like there's kind of almost a little genre developing around there, huh?
Yeah, it's been. I mean, MiHoYo's been in the gacha game for a while. Mm-hmm. This is their first like really big, full-fledged mainstream push, and it's worked out super well for them. But I think this is kind of going to be the future of what free-to-play games look like.
Right.
Give people a full big experience for free, and then rake in the big bucks on essentially loot boxes.
Yeah, I've been watching a streamer kind of deal with it. I think he spent over $7,000. Now, I don't feel bad for him because he kind of knew what he was doing going into it, and that's how he creates his content, which is probably bringing in more than $7,000, But I think kind of from what I've experienced and what I've seen is that the game itself isn't as predatory, I guess, as I would have assumed it was. But there's definitely an element of randomness that I think would drive me crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The gacha is like where you get the high tier characters and weapons. You'll get good enough weapons to complete the game if you just play it. You'll get enough characters to be able to take on bosses. So they're really playing off people's desire to have those higher tier characters with the really fancy character designs.
Right. And what I've noticed is that the higher tier characters aren't always better. It seems like there's kind of an up and down with it. He was complaining that he got what was commonly considered the best character, and he found that he really didn't enjoy the play style of that character. And even though he spent $800 or something to get that character, that character didn't make it into his rotation. So that's kind of an interesting thing, because I'm not sure who's the one, creating all these guides or lists or whatever, but it seems that it's kind of slanted towards the more expensive ones, but those aren't necessarily maybe the better ones, depending on how you like to play the game.
Yeah, it really boils down to like, do you want this pretty boy in your party or not?
Right, right.
Which, like, you know what? I don't shame anyone for being into that. If they want like a party full of pretty anime boys, like, I ain't gonna stop them. It's just like that's how they're making their money off, like creating appealing characters that people are gonna keep wanting to play a lottery for. I haven't felt that pull. I haven't spent a single cent on this game so far, and I've had fun with it. Like, this is a game you can enjoy without spending a dime. And so if you're into open world action RPGs, I would recommend it, but with the caveat that it's a little bit repetitive and you might want to grab some friends to play the grindy bits. All right, so that's what we've been playing. Let's move on to what we intended to do in this episode, which is get Thoughts' thoughts on on the games that she's been playing. Sorry, I'm going to make that pun like 80 times over the course
Everybody
of this podcast.
does. It's fine.
So, one thing we wanted to do was talk to community members about the video games that kind of made them into who they are today, which is a little bit lofty, right? To talk about games like making us into people. But we are a gaming podcast, so we do attach probably an undue importance to video games, but that's okay. That's what we do here. So, Thoughts, I want to know from you, what are the games that most influenced you as someone who plays video games and consumes art?
So this is kind of odd because I didn't really play video games until I met my wife. I wasn't allowed to play them when I was a child. Uh, I had an illicit GameCube in my basement, hidden under a pile of wires.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How did it not get discovered?
My dad isn't good at discovering GameCubes. He doesn't know what they look like. But
Sure, Dad, that's the cable box. Right.
but because it was illicit, I had to like unhook it and rehook it up every time I wanted to play it, and also it was in our cold, unfinished basement. So I never really got the gaming bug as a child.
What were you playing on the clandestine GameCube?
I played Super Mario Sunshine and I played Super Smash Brothers Melee, but I didn't really know how to play Super Smash Brothers Melee, and also I was playing alone, so I never really got into it.
Yeah, you didn't have like the full party game experience that
No.
Smash Bros is so good for.
Yeah. So those were like the two games that I had on that. I don't think I ever branched out into a third. I did have a non-clandestine Game Boy Color that I played Pokemon Gold on. But I was 8, so I didn't really know how to play Pokemon Gold. I played it a lot though. And then really didn't play games at all until I got a smartphone and played like Candy Crush. And then a Wii, my sister's Wii in college, where I played Lego Harry Potter and Just Dance.
Oh yeah, the Lego games I think have been kind of instrumental in getting a lot of people who wouldn't otherwise play a lot of video games to start playing games. I know a lot of people who just bought consoles to play Lego games and then kind of got more into it that way. They're kind of a weird gateway game. Which
They're extremely a gateway game. Honestly, if my Wii hadn't been kind of old at the time that I was playing Lego Harry Potter and they hadn't been like switching over to the Wii U, I would have continued playing more Lego games, and probably more games from there. It was really fun and engaging and intuitive.
Yeah, it's been they've continued making pretty good Lego games. They release like a new one every year, or new couple every year, I should say.
You know, yeah, and I've noticed that what they've started doing is putting the Lego brand into different genres, right? Like you've got the Lego Worlds, which is kind of like their Minecraft, and you've got the Lego. What was that one where it was like the Disney Infinity, Skylanders, Toys to Games type one?
Dimensions?
Yeah, it's a very smart gateway. Is really how I would describe it too. Getting people into those who might not normally find themselves as the game, getting them to interact more with the worlds that they're playing and that they're finding, I think is a really smart way to get them into it.
Yeah, they even made a GTA clone, a Lego City Undercover, which
Yeah.
I've been meaning to try because I've heard it was pretty good. And now it's out on it was originally Wii U exclusive, and now it's out I think on PC somewhere. So I should probably try that at some point just to mess. I haven't played a Lego game in like years. I played a bit of the Indiana Jones one like a decade ago, maybe. So it'd be worth getting into that. So you played Lego games on the Wii, and a bunch of smartphone games. And where'd you go from there?
Well, then they switched from the Wii to the Wii U, and I wasn't invested enough that I was gonna buy a Wii U. I'd gotten the Wii from my sister, because she'd gotten it and never used it. So I just really didn't do anything for years, and then I met my wife. And my wife has played video games since she was like in middle school, and is very invested and really knows lots of stuff about the medium. She primarily plays RPGs. And when we were in the beginning stages of dating, we were like sharing, like you do when you are getting to know somebody, you share the things that you like with them. And so I was showing her all the TV shows I loved, and she would talk about video games, and I sort of wanted to know what she was talking about. So she started trying to get me to play Final Fantasy VII.
That's a pretty tough gateway.
Yeah, it didn't work out great. It not so much because of the graphics, but because I would get really overwhelmed by the battle system. I just got so flustered. So she shifted me to Final Fantasy X because it is turn-based. And so Final Fantasy X became like the first like legit RPG that I finished. And I love Final Fantasy X. I love that game.
It's one of the Final Fantasies you don't hear people talk about as much. People talk a lot about 7 mostly, and you hear people talking about 8 and nowadays 14 and 15, but you don't hear people talking about 10 so much. So what drew you to 10?
So I think that it has a ridiculous main character, but like ridiculous in a way that I can appreciate.
It's Titus or Titus or
It's Titus.
It's Titus. Okay.
It's got a good party. It has what I have come to realize since is like a staple of Final Fantasy, which is that it's just kind of generally ridiculous and bizarre. But in a really engaging way. The graphics were improved enough from Final Fantasy VII that I could see what was happening on the characters' faces and like engage with them. I had a little bit of trouble with Final Fantasy VII as like a first real game, just because it was supposed to be emotional stuff happening, but like I couldn't see the characters' faces. Recently, we got the remaster, the first part of the remake of Final Fantasy VII, and immediately I was like, oh, I understand Cloud as a character now. I get it. I,
Yeah, tech has done a lot of work in bringing characters' emotions to life in a way that I think kind of rarely goes acknowledged, because kind of the perspective we're supposed to have as intelligent appreciators of art is that it's all in the writing, but the visual fidelity and directing and camera angles and all of that play a big role in how we engage with the emotions of art, right? And that's something that you correctly point out is a big deal for how you appreciate and engage with the emotions of the characters on screen.
yeah. And then the second RPG that game, I guess, really not game, but the second RPG that I ever finished was Horizon Zero Dawn, which I sort of wasn't directed to by my wife. I saw her play the end of it. I saw the ending, and I said, that looks like that's an emotional journey. I would like to take that emotional journey. So I did, and it was great.
You got to fight a lot of robot dinosaurs along the way, which is also great.
Robot dinosaurs, yes. And I mean, my wife claims that this is just because they're the first two games that I ever played, but I do think that Final Fantasy X and Horizon Zero Dawn have a lot in common as games.
I'm intrigued. What do you mean by that?
They are both games that are really thematically about parenting and the apocalypse and the environment, and children struggling to understand their relationships with their absent parents and the legacy that those parents have left for them and for the world.
Okay, that is an interesting perspective, and I mean, I say that having played neither of these games, so like, I guess I have to take your word for it. But yeah, there are not a lot of games really engage with parenting. Like, we're going to talk about Kingdom Hearts later, and there are no parents in that game.
There sure aren't.
So it's interesting to play games that actually directly engage with the idea of parenthood, because most games don't. So what else did you find appealing about Horizon Zero Dawn?
I mean, obviously, it's a very pretty game. I think that it has a real mood to it just throughout. There's an atmosphere to it. Sorry, there's a noise happening.
That's okay.
There's an atmosphere to it that I can only sort of describe as kind of poetic in places. I mean, for all the robot dinosaurs and riding around on like robot cows and shooting your bow, it really does commit to its metaphors and its imagery and its sort of emotional core.
Like that kind of semi-nostalgic post-apocalypse kind of feel? Is that
Yeah.
what it has?
Yeah, there's a little bit of Station 11 to it.
Yeah. I got a lot of that vibe from Death Stranding, which does have a lot of ridiculous bits in it, but also most of it is you by yourself trekking across rocks in the wilderness with a huge backpack on your back, trying not to fall over.
Yeah.
And like it's almost like you're playing an elegy for a dead America.
Yes.
As you're walking through.
Yes. Elegaic is definitely a word that came to mind a lot. The Death Stranding, which I've played about, I think, a third of with my wife, and then we just we couldn't take the walking anymore. But we loved some of the dialogue from that.
Yeah. It's a very polarizing game, and I understand why a lot of people. I completely 100% understand why some people bounced off it. I ended up really enjoying it, but yeah, it is a game that's very antagonistic towards the player. Let's say.
I
Sorry,
I
go ahead.
no, I like the game sort of. I like what the game is going for. I like all of the parts of the game and the idea of it. It was just the actual physical act of playing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like the 40th time where you fall over sliding down a small incline, you're liable to throw your controller at the TV. Completely understandable. So you played Horizon Zero Dawn. Are there any other games that you feel kind of had an influence in the way you think about video games?
Um, I'm just trying to think of actual games that I've like physically played. Um, uh, because after I finished Kingdom Hearts about a year ago, I got a concussion and was unable to play games for about 9 months.
Oh
So,
no.
yeah. So, I had a long break there. Uh, but a lot of my gaming sort of trajectory ever since Final Fantasy has really been shaped by my wife, who loves Final Fantasy and just RPGs in general, and what I've seen her play. Uh,
So is it kind of a mixture of Western and Japanese RPGs?
yeah,
Okay.
I've played about half of Breath of the Wild, which was influential, I think, in the sense that it was very beautiful and told me that that is not the kind of game that I enjoy playing.
Yeah, it's very narrative light for the most part. Very much kind of make your own fun experience. And I think that can be a great experience to have, and it's something that does appeal to me. But if you're looking for like a meatier, more emotional narrative to be invested in, it might be better found elsewhere.
Yeah. Um, I it's definitely a game that I'm really glad that I got to see and experience and poke around in, but also probably isn't the sort of game that I gravitate towards.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. So I think we can transition to kind of the second half of this, which is you and I think, both kind of have a pattern of kind of just like blowing through an entire series, which you told us you recently did with Mass Effect, and earlier did with Kingdom Hearts. So let's actually start with Mass Effect because we were discussing that earlier. So you blew through the entire series. Did you kind of see like a progression going through the series, and how it changed from game to game?
Um, there was definitely changes in its mechanics.
Yeah,
Just,
that
just
going from guns having no bullets to guns having bullets. The
just
in-universe
oh
justification for
god, I
that
have to read
always
those.
crack me up.
Um, yeah, uh, and you could see them sort of realizing throughout the games, oh wait, people care about our characters? That's a thing? Like we created these characters and people care about them and we should like check back in with them. Um which I always think is funny. Um just sort of when series suddenly realize what they did that was successful. Um uh
Yeah, because it sketches the characters in the first game pretty thinly, and like I like to joke that Garrus doesn't really have a personality in the first game.
Oh,
And then by the time you get to the second game, he's like this badass vigilante on. Was he on Omega? I forget. It's been a while since
I
I've
don't know
played.
where anybody was.
But he's like this badass vigilante dude, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like they kind of gave him a personality because he was a cool guy that people gravitated towards in the first game. And I actually think it worked out really well because by the time you come around to the third game, Garrus is like your bro, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's funny to me because you start in the second game and you have like half the cast who are extraordinarily popular. Like again, without the DLC, you barely see Liara in the second game. Which is kind of funny to me. And it's just
Yeah.
funny watching them like fine tune what it is that they need to do to keep people invested in their games that people are primarily invested in for the characters.
Yeah, Liara is a really good example too, I think, because it seems like they just had her into literally just to continue the romance from 1 to 3, almost as like a, I don't know how to describe it, like they felt like they had to, but she barely qualifies, I think, as a companion in the regular Mass Effect sense in 2. And then you get that layer of the Shadow Broker DLC, and her character feels way off in that. But she comes back around in 3. But I think that's a really good example of a character that just kind of went all over the place, especially in that second game.
She matures very quickly between 1 and 2. In 1, she's basically a kid. I mean, by Asari standards, a kid. By human standards, she's ancient. What is it? She's like 80 something in the first game?
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that's old. And then she's like, no, I'm just a child. What are you talking about? Which I thought was hilarious. And then, yeah, in the second game, she's like this badass information broker. It's a lot of maturing happening in like a short 2-year time span-ish.
Especially for her. Very short.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the characters do mature and change over the course of the game. Ashley going from like a run-of-the-mill space racist to like a pretty cool person who defends her friends of various alien races.
And Rex.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, and Rex with his entire, well, I suppose if you don't kill him, his entire ascendancy to the head of the Krogans plotline.
Yeah. He goes from being almost kind of an outcast to like leading his people, which I think is really cool. So that's a nice thing to see, that like kind of progression of both the characters and mechanics from start to finish. And it's something I noticed too, going through the series when I played it. Oh gosh, now did it really all come out like 8 years ago?
Man, Andromeda was 2017, but yeah, I think the first one was 2007. I know that.
Yeah, I played them all in like the 2011 to 2013 period. So yeah, I was like early on in grad school is when I played those games. Yeah, it's strange to think that it's been that long. I think of Mass Effect as this very recent franchise, and then I realized, wait, as of next week, that's 2 console generations ago.
Yeah, it's been tough, and we've talked a lot about BioWare just as a company and stuff, and Mass Effect is one series that I hope never goes away. I know Andromeda's actually weirdly starting to get a little bit of love, kind of in some circles, kind of coming back around as maybe like a little underappreciated. So I'm hoping that this maybe lights a spark after Anthem 2.0 flops again, and then we put the focus back where it should be, which is the Dragon Ages and Mass Effects of the BioWare catalog.
Something you're
Oh,
going to learn when we talk about Kingdom Hearts is that no matter how bad any game in a series is, leave it long enough and it will develop a fandom.
Absolutely. I was a Andromeda lover for a long time, and I think it sets up the beginning of a trilogy that it never got a chance to grow. And I think that's maybe where the biggest weakness to it was. But I really do enjoy the game, and I'm hoping that it does kind of get that little bit of fan love back in its way, and maybe starts sparking that whole rebuild years for it.
I've still never gotten around to it, but I think if they announce a new Mass Effect, I'll eventually pick it up and give it a go because it feels like a weird blind spot. I've played basically every single player BioWare game since Jade Empire, so it'd be weird for me to let this one go. Speaking of which, they should definitely make a Jade Empire too.
Oh,
They never
absolutely.
will,
Yeah.
but they should.
And maybe get that Star Wars license back too. That'd be the other thing. But I will say this about Andromeda. I think this was maybe before the time where we realized this was a thing, but I do think that there was a little bit of I don't know how you describe it, like a concentrated effort to portray this game as like, oh, it's this woke game. It was kind of the early infancies of that type of online thing that was going on. And I think that was maybe a little bit more concentrated of an effort than we thought, because a lot of the complaints people were having, I think, were, graphical glitches and stuff like that. And lots of games have those, but don't necessarily face that uphill struggle that Andromeda seemed to right off the gate. So I wonder how much of that was really a thing that happened versus how much was, the internet being, gamer gators or whatever again.
Yeah, the thing is, I never seem to be able to predict which game will get that kind of backlash.
Right.
Like you'd expect it really strongly against, say, the two Life is Strange games, and it never really took off against them
Right.
for
But
whatever reason.
look at whatchamacallit, not Last of Us Part Two.
Yeah,
That one was a very clear, like, had everything going for it type thing. And then, yeah,
yeah, you got that kind of backlash, and that's not for me to dismiss every kind of backlash or every criticism of a game, but that certainly was an element of it. And yeah, like I said, it's really hard to predict which games will get that kind of backlash and which games won't. And then which games end up being championed as like the non woke games that are fighting back, even though that's
right.
not their position. I found it really weird, for instance, that Persona 5 ended up as like a standard bearer for that, because it's like, did you even play the game? Do you know what it's about?
And then there was that Kingdom's Deliverance game or whatever.
Kingdom Come Deliverance, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, this one, they tell it like it was, and it's just like, it's just an okay, boring RPG. I don't know if it earned any of that, but same kind of idea there.
Yeah, it's really difficult to kind of disentangle like, I guess, honest criticism from just like stupid, gross internet backlash.
Right.
And oftentimes, not having played the games in question, I don't really want to like get lost in the scuffle, taking a really strong stance. But yeah, there's definitely an element of like kind of anti woke backlash, if you will, to some of this. But yeah, I'm definitely hoping that Bioware continues the Mass Effect series in some capacity, or does something cool with the world, because there's a lot of interesting stuff that they can do with the world, even kind of in parallel to the big Reaper story. Like, there's so many smaller scale stories you could tell on various planets involving, Asari and Turians and all them. Any other thoughts on Mass Effect as a series? All right, let's dive right into the hell pit and talk about Kingdom Hearts. So, I don't know what your start with the series was, but for me it was just noticing that the Story So Far collection was on sale, and deciding to be, the weeaboo trash that I am and just going for it. So last year I bought, shortly after Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, I bought the Story So Far collection and tried to play it all within a year and failed miserably, and ended up only starting Kingdom Hearts 3 this year. But I just kind of played them all in one go continuously. What was your experience with the series? Thoughts?
Well, my story with Kingdom Hearts is that, again, my wife has played them since middle school, which I think she played them basically starting with the original Kingdom Hearts when it came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know, I have a couple of friends like that, and I still haven't talked to them about how they felt about Kingdom Hearts 3. Anyway, sorry.
And so when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, she bought it and played it, and I was sitting in the living room, doing my own thing while she played it, having only the vaguest idea of what Kingdom Hearts was. She had me play the first half hour of Kingdom Hearts at one point early in our relationship, and I was like, this is weird, I don't really understand it, but okay. And that was my basic understanding of Kingdom Hearts was the first half hour, Destiny Islands, this is weird, I don't get it.
You don't even get to the Disney stuff in that first half hour. It's just this random anime. I was going to call him an anime sword boy, but he's like an anime key boy.
Yeah. But I knew Kingdom Hearts involved Disney because I knew that much. So I was sitting in our living room, fucking around on my computer. I don't know if we swear.
Well, we can swear on this podcast. No worries.
Okay. Just screwing around on my computer while she played Kingdom Hearts 3. And at one point I look up and Sora and Goofy and Donald are running around Twilight Town trying to gather ingredients for Little Chef. And I'm like, Melissa, what the hell is going on here? Is it the world ending or something? What is happening?
Oh yeah, I remember that mission is annoying. It's early in Kingdom Hearts 3. You have to search every frickin' rooftop in that damn town just to find was it a bunch of garlic or something or butter for a fucking rat.
And she's like, I don't know what to tell you. This is Kingdom Hearts. And so I immediately stopped doing whatever I was doing and started watching in earnest as my wife played through the rest of Kingdom Hearts 3. And I was fascinated. And what really convinced me in the end that I needed to play these games was the Heartless Tornado scene with Riku. Because
I actually don't know which one you're referring to because there are multiple Heartless Tornado scenes in that game.
It's the first one where where Sora's like, oh no, everything's done, we're dying forever, and Riku does his badass moment, and he goes to the Heartless Tornado, and he he does his badass moment. I can't describe it. It's badass. And, I knew very little about any of the characters or any of the lore or any of the backstory, but all I knew at that point was the very little my wife had told me, which is that Riku used to be a bad guy. There had been some drama over the course of the series, and now we're here. And I saw this moment, and I was like, I believe that I can reverse engineer what Riku's story must have been. And I think I need to see this. And also, whatever the rest of this nonsense is. And so I said, I'm going to play all of these games.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Because I need to see this. And so I played all of Kingdom Hearts, not just the main games, all of the spin-offs in 2 months.
Was that with the Story So Far collection, or
Uh,
do you get them kind of individually?
my wife just owns them all.
Oh, okay.
Uh, she
Oh,
owns...
wait, does that mean you played the original Chain of Memories instead of Rechain?
No, I played Rechain.
Okay.
The only one that I played on handheld was Days, because the like ports don't include Days, they just include the
The cutscenes.
the cutscenes, and I wasn't willing to just watch the cutscenes, and that was, my wife says, the point where she realized that, oh no, I was really, really in. Uh, I
Oh,
went
I just watched. So for the ones that are only in cutscene form, I just watched the cutscenes
that
through the collection. And I'll also admit that I gave up on Rechain halfway through and just watched cutscenes on YouTube.
that's so much more sensible than what I did.
I mean, I wouldn't say that what I did was sensible. So you started with the first Kingdom Hearts, and
Yes.
how was that?
Well, so what you need to understand about me is that when I played the first Kingdom Hearts, I didn't really know how to play video games. I had at that point played Final Fantasy X with the heavy guidance of my wife, and Horizon Zero Dawn, half of it on story mode. So I was very bad at it. and the original Kingdom Hearts is not like a well-designed game in terms of its mechanics.
Oh, it's a poorly designed game, and it's extremely difficult. For what you'd think would be a friendly Disney game, it whoops your ass. Especially the harder boss fights later in the game.
That Chernobog.
Oh yeah.
I believe that I ended up defeating the Chernobog basically by just hanging back and letting Goofy and Donald die over and over. Which I think is a valid strategy.
They had it coming, let's be honest.
They
I know what they did.
really did. I'm amazed that I finished Kingdom Hearts and then like went on to do more games, honestly. But I did.
Yeah. I think we were talking about, the gateways earlier, and I wonder if there's like the equivalent of like a gate stopper or something. You know what I mean? Like, this is the last of whatever I played, or the last, maybe not video games in general, but a genre, because I could really see that game just being like, oof, here, pump the brakes on this. Maybe this is I'll go read a book or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, I'm going to be honest, I don't like the first Kingdom Hearts because it really hasn't stood the test of time. Subsequent games, I think, in the series, I think, are a little friendlier to the player and don't involve the world's worst level design.
I mean,
Like, what is that fucking Tarzan level? God.
the Tarzan with the sliding
What is that fucking maze?
slide down the bar.
Go ahead.
All I was going to say is that you have to slide down the vines 15 times.
Oh yeah, and every time you fall, you end up losing so much progress. So just don't fall.
No.
Once was
Sorry,
the
you were
only
saying,
one
Kappa?
I tried, and I hated it. I mean, I know people have come around on the series, as in the total of it, but I found it really, like, one, it was advertised a little weirdly. So I will say, in my defense, I didn't think I knew what I was getting into at the time. It seemed like a kind of a fun, breezy Disney game mixed in with some Final Fantasy elements and some RPG, and you're living in this world type stuff. But man, I did not have that experience at all, huh? It was whatever the opposite of fun and breezy and all the other stuff is.
I
It was
mean,
very punishing at times.
for a game that literally tells you how to walk, it sure is a challenge.
That was an early gen game too, right? Wasn't that I'm not sure.
PS2 game.
Yeah. Was it mid-cycle PS2 or? because it looked really good. I mean, the art style, I would say, looked very good. So, I mean, that alone was enough to kind of get me into it. But yeah, what an experience that one was. Every time people come on the podcast and say, oh, they have all these experiences with it, I'm always like, man, what did I miss? But yeah.
Oh,
You missed
so much.
Paradoxically, both not very much and a hell of a lot.
It's amazing, the depth and also the shallowness and also the complexity of what you missed.
Yeah,
that's what it seems like. It seems like they try to build on it, and it went in different ways that most people either were or weren't ready to kind of go with. Everybody that we've had on that has said different things about it, as well, this was the part I hated, but then I loved this, and then in the next game it did this, and I loved this, but I hated this. There was a lot of that going on.
It's a very love-hate kind of series for sure.
Like,
there are parts of later games that I just love.
Right.
I don't have a lot of love for the first game of the series, to be honest.
Kingdom Hearts is the only game that has made me cry.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's a strong endorsement.
Like positive emotion, or like, I can't believe I'm still playing this.
Not in frustration. Kingdom Hearts made me cry. And you will not guess which Kingdom Hearts game it was that made me cry.
The mobile one.
Yes. Yes, it was Days.
Got it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Days made you cry because of the sea salt ice cream, or like?
Not the sea salt ice cream. I think specifically, I don't even remember exactly what scene it was, but it was something. It was something in one of those scenes, somewhere in one of the moments where you're really being exposed to like the ephemerality of these people's existence.
And people have said multiple times that one has a great story, but it was kind of like lost, in the gameplay, because most people thought, oh, it's a mobile game, it's a cash in, this and that. But a lot of people have said, yeah, this one has a fantastic story. So that's interesting.
It does have actually a great story and not terribly good gameplay. Mostly the gameplay is very repetitive.
It has a story that I think once you remove the gameplay from it becomes really boring to watch, but if they made like a novelization of it, it would work really well.
Yeah.
I've got a similar experience with the series that I know and love, and that's, of course, the Halo series. So much of that lore gets told in the Halo Wars games, the RTS games, which a lot of people don't get to experience because it's just a whole different, genre. But I've always wondered about games that try to tell stories in different ways. And, you get a lot of mixed success with that. World of Warcraft, right, tells a story that Blizzard had been working on for years and years and years with Warcraft. But then depending on what side you play, you're only really getting half the story that they're still creating, So I've just kind of wondered about what's the mindset of, fragmenting your audience when you're trying to tell like this grand story, and try to keep things consistent when you really never get a feeling of, are people even going to move to this game? Does that make sense? And I think with Kingdom Hearts, I think they took a chance on the mobile game, and enough of their audience went with it, it seems like, because I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah, I mean, what they did with Kingdom Hearts is that they made pretty much everything essential to understanding what was going on. I would say the only exception is you don't really need to play Recoded.
I did not play Recoded. That's actually the only one I skipped.
You can just watch the cutscenes, and even then they're not crucial for understanding what's going on. You just won't know what the difference is between, I guess, Sora and Data Sora. That's right. There's Sora and Sora made out of data, because there are computers here apparently. But other than that, it's everything's more or less essential for understanding the series.
Oh man,
even the spin-offs. So you played through Hearts, and then you went to Rechain of Memories.
Yes.
So that's kind of a big wall, because that's where it introduces a lot of the weird shit that becomes staples throughout the rest of the series. Like, that's where you meet Organization 13 and all those other baddies, and you're introduced to all the weird, I guess, metaphysical nonsense that pervades the rest of the series. So how was that experience?
I'm sorry. You think that the storytelling was the wall of Chain of Memories?
I mean, I gave up on it because I got tired of the gameplay.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, my actual experience with Chain of Memories is that so I think that the A side of Chain of Memories, the actual Chain of Memories uh, story is weird, but not so weird that I was like put off. I mean, I expected it to be weird. I had seen Kingdom Hearts 3 at this point, so I knew that we were going to get really weird. And at this point, I was just trying to figure out what the difference between a nobody and a heartless was, so I was ready for it. Um, and I think that the B side of Chain of Memories, Reverse Rebirth, Riku's story, is some of the cleanest and best storytelling in all of Kingdom Hearts. And of course, it's the secret second part of a garbage nothing spin-off game with the even worse mechanics of already terrible mechanics. Because
oh yeah, that card battle system is just pure insanity.
There's
I
that.
never mastered it. I never bothered to master it, and at a certain point, it's like I can't go through these same looking dungeons over and over and over again.
That's
I'm
that
done.
love and hate kind of talk that I like too. I really, that's what I've been needing.
So, my feeling with the card battle system, my feeling about Chain of Memories, I have this weird love-hate thing with Chain of Memories. I always rank it higher when I'm like ranking the games than it really has any right to be, because of the Riku story, uh, and also because I have this feeling about the card battle system, which is that like there's potential there. It could be good. It wasn't good. But like all they had to do was fix a few things and it could have been good.
Oh, if it had like a semi pause or time slow feature, that would make it that would solve about 75% of the problems with
And
that system.
there was that one thing where like I don't remember exactly what it was because it's been a year, but you would have the Mickey card or whatever it was to heal, but like other cards could come up and break that or like get it out of your hand just as you were trying to heal. And like if they just fixed that, that also would have fixed a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of a series staple, right? Like until you have uh, the Leaf Bracer ability, even like the mainline Kingdom Hearts games, then your Cures and Curas and Curagas have a chance to get interrupted and screw you over because it uses up your MP even
Yeah.
if it doesn't work. So I guess he tried to carry that over into the card battle system, and there it becomes really annoying because like
You
you lose the ability entirely instead of just having to try to cast it again
Yeah.
with a lower MP. So it becomes, yeah, a huge pain in the ass.
That sounds, yeah. Card games are mixed as mini games in what is there, triple triad all the way up through Gwent, right? Like different varying levels of, I guess, complication or whatever. But man, if you miss that, that can feel really weird, almost unnecessary at times, right? I mean, it's just kind of, I don't know how to explain it. I hate when a mini game pops up that I feel is like that, and card games are kind of the number one offender, I guess, for me.
Yeah, imagine that mini game, but it's the entire gameplay and it's also real time.
Yeah, I could.
And that's Chain of Memories.
One of the few things that like Hearthstone or games like that do is they do let you strategize. You need time to do that. I couldn't imagine putting a timer on that. That would just drive me absolutely nuts.
Oh yeah, also trying to strategize while doing this real time and moving your character around on the screen. It's a complete shit show.
You know how
of
everybody
a game.
loves what is it? The World Is Not Enough. That one was a hard one for me to get into because of
The World Ends
the
with You.
two
The
screen
World Is
thing.
Not Enough is a Bond movie.
Oh, not
the world ends with you.
The World Ends with You. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, I got that mixed up with the Bond movie. But you know how you got the top screen, bottom screen thing? I
Yeah.
quickly realized I wasn't good enough to really do the dancing on the top along with the pin battle on bottom. So At least that game lets you do that. But yeah, whenever you're asking to do 5 different layers of things, especially something like a card game, oof, no thanks.
Yeah,
Oh, the
I'm
other
just too
thing.
stupid
Oh.
to pull it off.
Me too.
The other thing about Chain of Memory is that, especially for like the main game, that is to say, not Riku's game, technically the plot is just like replaying all of the worlds of Kingdom Hearts 1, but
Except Tarzan, because they didn't have the license.
but like slightly more boring.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the key. That's what you want. You want your players to feel bored.
I
Yeah,
got
you can really tell if this was originally like a Game Boy game in its original conception, because it does not work in like full 3D walking around. So you enjoyed Chain of Memories, and then did you move on to 2 or Days? Which one did you do next?
I did 2 next. That's
Okay.
that's how it was packaged on our set. So I did 2, and 2 I liked. I liked the opening.
You liked spending 8 hours as what's his face? God, I can't remember his name. Roxas.
Roxas. I did. I mean, I wasn't super into like the weird little like busy work tasks that I had to do, but again, anything that really reminds me of the ephemerality of these people's existence and like drives home how desperately sad this all is. I mean, occasionally Kingdom Hearts is capable of like really delivering an emotion or an atmosphere.
It's a really melancholy series in parts, for sure.
Yeah.
And especially in Kingdom Hearts 2, which is what I think is kind of almost kind of where the storytelling is at its height, in that it's kind of about how Sora is separated from all the people he loves, and how he's trying to kind of piece everything back together.
Yeah. It's also, however, the place where the cracks in that storytelling first start to show, because it's the first place, I think, where other characters are doing really meaningful plot stuff,
Yeah.
but we can't see them.
Yeah, they're all kind of doing it in the background, and you're playing through sometimes the less important bits of it. This is especially the problem with Kingdom Hearts 3,
That's
which we'll get
massively a problem in Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts
Shortly.
3 is, we do nonsense busy work Disney worlds with Sora, and then we cut to a half-hour cutscene where Riku and Mickey do actual plot.
It's weird as that the Kingdom Hearts outsider, a lot of times when we talk about it, because it comes up a lot, but like it's hard to explain from my perspective. I don't get bored of hearing people talk about it, because it's always this like emotional roller coaster just for people to describe, like, and then I was so in love with this character and this scene was so great, and then I had to go into a Finding Dory mission or something. It's just like listening to it gives you tonal whiplash. I could only imagine playing it is like, what? Like, like this like very traumatic, character moment has, then it's like, okay, now I got to go race Mater.
That is,
They haven't taken advantage of Cars or Finding Nemo yet.
I mean, I'm just
they should.
giving you an example, but you know what I mean. It always happens every time we talk about it. It's just this weird like up and down pattern, and it's like from someone outside, it's like, what? Like, does this game have a director? Or is it just like, okay, everybody put together a scene and we're gonna smash them together and make a game? But it's wild just to listen to people talk about Kingdom Hearts. And we've done it a few times now, so I've been on board for it. But it's one of the weirder games that I haven't played that I actually love talking about.
that is understandable, and also you have pretty well summed up the feeling of playing Kingdom Hearts, except that you haven't really gotten into the fact that there are only 5 people in the Kingdom Hearts universe, and everybody else is just a poorly degrading reflection of one of those people.
Oh, I love hearing about, what is it? Nording?
So
Yeah.
so
That's my
basically the
favorite
only
part.
characters that matter are Sora, Riku, Kairi, uh, Goofy, Donald, Mickey, and Xehanort.
Xehanort. But to be clear, Sora is not actually the real person. He is a reflection.
Oh my. Okay.
Of wait, what?
Sora's not the real person. Ventus is the real person. Did you not play Birth by Sleep?
I did play Birth by Sleep. Okay, so like Ventus is like the tiny. I was gonna say like fetus inside Sora. I guess I don't
Oh
know.
my god.
I
Just
don't
what
know
I
what
thought.
fetus is the wrong word.
He's like he's how to explain this?
Sora is like
He's
I guess the future reflection of Ventus's heart. I don't know how to
yeah,
explain it.
that's kind of right. Sure.
I'm getting this completely wrong. And then we have a couple
Go back
like
to
of
the
huge
fetus
Kingdom Hearts
thing.
fans who listen to this podcast. They're already composing their angry emails.
So Ventus came first.
Yeah.
And Ventus has a dark reflection named Vanitas. And Vanitas is all of the dark parts of Ventus's heart. And Vanitas looks exactly like Sora, but Sora wouldn't be born for another 10 years. And so what happened is Xehanort, no, somebody, like, Ventus was dying and he brought Ventus to the Destiny Islands and he connected his heart to Sora's heart and it made Sora into this weird connected soul heart person of Ventus and Vanitas. And also there's Roxas, and Roxas is Sora's
Nobody.
nobody.
Yeah. I know who
They
Roxas
all have
is.
spiky hair and belts and pockets so that you can't
Yes.
tell them apart either. So
So you can tell apart Sora from the others, but I legitimately cannot tell Roxas and Ventus
Oh,
apart.
Roxas and Ventus look identical.
okay. Now I'm on board. Keep going.
So Roxas, that is to say, Sora's nobody looks like Ventus, which is to say Sora's original heart person.
Yeah.
Anyway, the important thing to know about Kingdom Hearts 2, the really important thing to know about Kingdom Hearts 2, the thing that makes it rise above all other entries in the Kingdom Hearts franchise, what makes it the best is that it introduces blindfold Riku. Riku with a blindfold.
I've got to look this up now.
It's like the characters from Nier Automata who run around with their eyes covered, but somehow can see everything.
It's unclear actually whether Riku can see or whether he's got so much angst that the angst has developed into like another sense.
The first thing that showed up was it's basically a symbol of his shame for sinking back into darkness.
That's exactly what it is. What happens is when he could see his eyes, he knew he could see in his eyes the shame and the evil and the darkness that he had become. And so he put the blindfold on so that he wouldn't have to see that.
You know what this reminds me of? Have you ever read The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar by Roald Dahl?
No.
So that's a story about a very rich man who wants to unlock the secrets of meditation, and so he goes off and becomes like a meditating yogic guru, and then becomes able to see with his hands and other parts of his body, and gives up all his material possessions for this magical power. So that's basically Riku.
Oh man, I injected in my veins. I can't take enough of this.
What I like
Riku is a Roald Dahl character.
what I like to think about with Riku and the blindfold. So Riku wore this blindfold for an entire year. And for a lot of that year, for at least part of that year, he was traveling with his best friend, Mickey Mouse, who is the king.
The edgiest traveling companion you can possibly have, right?
It's Riku, the angst lord with the blindfold, and Mickey Mouse traveling around. And I just like to imagine Riku, by the way, Mickey Mouse, by the way, cares so much about Riku. So I just like to imagine what Mickey's reaction was when Riku put on the blindfold.
I
see a
can't
lot of them
imagine
got
what
a
that
lot
would
of
be.
shame. Ha
Pretty much. No, okay, so the funny thing about the Kingdom Hearts series is the one thing it does super well is it somehow combines like the personality of Mickey that we're all familiar with, like the friendly personality, with this like really badass warrior personality
Yeah,
and somehow makes it work.
Mickey is by like far and away like second or third best character in Kingdom Hearts.
You want to know something that's also probably insane if you think about it? There's a whole generation of kids probably growing up right now who don't know Mickey as anything other than his Kingdom Hearts persona, right? Like if you think about it, he hasn't been doing. When's the last Mickey movie that came out, right? I mean, so I wonder.
Like they're doing like now Mickey's main like thing in the Disney canon is like these animated 2D web shorts.
Right, but I'm telling you, there's probably a group of maybe 15 to 25-year-olds who've only known Mickey from Kingdom Hearts. Just think of him as this like walking around in the darkness with his blindfold edgelord, like fighting.
They know a great version of Mickey. Just to be clear, Riku and Mickey are one of the great friendships of our time.
Indeed, they are. So, what I found interesting about Kingdom Hearts 2 is that you kind of revisit a bunch of places you went to in Kingdom Hearts 1, including, like, I mean, they put Olympus in every game because, I don't know, apparently Tetsuya Nomura really loves Hercules. And when you revisit Atlantica, instead of swimming around, now you're playing a rhythm game,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so one of the things that happens when you play all of the Kingdom Hearts games in 2 months is that the like really popular worlds that people love, that they put in all of the games because people love them, you start to hate them because you play them in every game.
Oh yeah, I hate Olympus now.
Yeah.
I completely hate it.
It's weird that Olympus is one of the ones that makes the cut, though. I mean, you would think of the properties they've got, like that's a deep cut at this point, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's they've really haven't taken advantage. You have to remember that until Kingdom Hearts 3, they weren't using any Pixar properties because they didn't have permission.
Okay, yeah.
So they really had to cut pretty deep for a lot of stuff, and they were reluctant to use some of Disney's more recent properties. So a lot of stuff just gets completely memory holed. Like there's no Treasure Planet or Emperor's New Groove
Or Atlantis the Lost Empire, which I think would make a great world.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to see Kingdom Hearts 4 do Atlantis and also do Treasure Planet in the style of how they did the Caribbean world in Kingdom Hearts 3. That would be badass.
Okay. I always think, however, that so the Caribbean world in Kingdom Hearts 3, and they did in Kingdom Hearts 2, right? I'm not making that up.
They had one, but you didn't sail around anywhere really.
Right. So I enjoyed the worlds. I enjoyed the style, but for whatever reason, Elizabeth Swann in those worlds creeped me out.
Elizabeth Swann is in this game? Wow. I did not. You could have...
She has a real case of like Oblivion potato face.
she's very dead-eyed.
Is it voiced by what's her name?
No.
Keira Knightley?
No, God, no.
They do sometimes get the original actors. So like Tangled World has what's his
Zach
name?
Levi and Mandy Moore.
No, not Mandy Moore.
Oh, not Mandy Moore,
She
but they do get
sounds-
Zach Levi.
Stunningly like Mandy Moore, but not Mandy Moore.
Okay, they did get Zach Levi though.
Yeah.
Because Zach Levi loves video games,
Yeah,
so
we could
I doubt he'd
probably
turn it down.
one day sit down and talk about just how Disney is kind of just done whatever they wanted with video games. But none have really kind of crossed over. Even Avengers, like, didn't that news come out that Avengers lost like 6 billion yen? I don't know how that is in dollars, but like, there's a lot of opportunities in these games to really bring people in. It just seems like they're not interested in it. I know Kingdom Hearts is its own thing, but man, if you would have said Keira Knightley was one of the characters in this game, I would have been shocked. You know?
Yeah, I guess
Not Keira Knightley,
Kingdom
but
Hearts,
the
for
character.
whatever reason, has just been able to chug along doing its own thing. And they've given Nomura and his team a lot of latitude to do basically whatever they want, with some weird exceptions.
I just,
They
like,
didn't let him use Oswald for some reason.
I just imagine some like marketing guy just being there, like, wait a minute, why, let's get Monsters Inc. in there. You know what I mean? Or like
Monsters
things
Inc.
that,
is in there.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense then.
Actually,
Alright.
in Monsters Inc. world, so in some of the like weirder worlds, the characters like Donald and Goofy and Sora, they change form so that they can blend in with the world. It's like a weird version of the Prime Directive. They're not supposed to tell the residents of the world that they're in that they come from a different world. So like in Monsters Inc. world, they turn into monsters. And in Toy Story world, they turn into toys.
Oh yeah,
So they're Transformers too.
like what Sora turns into is like it'll please both the furries and the skaters.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely
Like
some
that
hard
core
copying.
demographic, that Venn diagram of video game buyers.
Yeah, everyone walks away happy from that one. But yeah, oh yeah, and in the Lion King world in Kingdom Hearts 2, they all turn into like animals. So like Sora becomes a lion cub.
Yeah, but he's a weird lion cub. I do not like the lion cub he turns into.
Because does he still have the spiky hair? I
Yeah,
think?
he does, and he's
How
a
does he get all
weird color, and
How do they get all the belts on that line?
I don't even know, man. I can't remember. It's been so long. So Kingdom Hearts 2 is where things get a little wacky in the series. We talked about 358 over 2 days. Or is it 358 days over 2? I
it's
don't know.
358 over 2 days.
Okay, yeah.
Which is
As you
actually a
would.
little weird because it should probably be 358 days over 2 because it's 358 days split into.
Shared by 2 hearts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Very odd.
Yeah, why don't they just call it, oh god, I can do math. 169 days? I can't, no,
That'd be
I can't.
pretty
do
nice.
math.
I see where
179
you're
days.
Yeah.
Yeah, the naming conventions I think are always interesting for it. It's got that whole Metal Gear Solid kind of thing sometimes, where like you want to like almost impress people with language that doesn't really work until you play the game and you're like, oh, now I get it. But like I remember seeing that at like a GameStop, just sitting there, I'm like, what even does this mean? Like I almost wanted to play it just to find out what that meant.
Turns out it means.
Turns out, yeah, it's about. Wait, does it refer to Shion and Roxas or Roxas and Axel?
I think it refers to Shion and Roxas because Axel has no heart and
Right.
he isn't sharing it with anyone.
Right.
Although
But
he does
wait,
love it.
Roxas is the nobody. So how does he have? You know what? I don't remember.
He
It doesn't
has.
matter.
Wait. Okay. Let me see if I can figure this out. Roxas has Sora's heart, and Shion has
Shion is constructed from Sora's
Memories.
memories and feelings about Kairi,
yes.
correct?
So Shion,
Which is why she appears more like Kairi to Roxas, but looks nondescript to everyone else.
right. So Shion
Okay.
is both Kairi and Sora. So we probably should have included her in the list of people who are Sora.
Yeah. But she is also Kairi.
She's also
But
Kairi.
also Sora. But not Namine, who is someone else.
By the way, I should mention at this point that Kingdom Hearts is really, really great for poly shipping, just on the whole.
Because you can get with someone and then the mirror version of someone.
Yeah, but also just, yes. And also just this whole Axel, Roxas, Kyrie thing is like very, very romantic.
Yeah, Axel, I don't think they intended to write the Kingdom Hearts 3 scenes with Axel and Kyrie as romantic, but they do read that way.
Yes. It's
Which is unintentionally hilarious, but, give it to me. I don't care. So after 358 over 2 days, I guess the next thing up is Birth by Sleep.
that game is so boring.
Oh, wow. That's a shots fired, because I know a lot of people who adore that game.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's just really boring. I like that there are new worlds, I guess, but also you have to play every world 3 times. And I don't particularly like Ventus or Terra.
Yeah, Ventus. I mean, Terra is the world's stupidest motherfucker.
He's he's like Riku if Riku were uninteresting and had no real reason to angst.
Yeah, he's Riku minus a brain.
Right.
Like, he's so dumb. Am I being manipulated? Are these people really evil? Yes, Terra, they're evil.
Okay.
Everyone can see it. Why can't you?
At least when Riku's being manipulated, he sort of often seems to realize he's being manipulated and is like going with it for his own reasons, which are usually that he has like a sucking, gaping emotional wound that needs to be filled. I have some theories about Riku. We can get into them later. And be like, again, he's smart and is having some agency.
Terra's just dumb as a rock.
So bad. And
He is so dumb.
Ventus, I mean, he's 14, so like he can be forgiven for being annoying, and like he shouldn't be murdered, I guess, which people spend a lot of that game.
Strong words.
Well, the thing is, people spend a lot of that game trying to murder Ventus. But like, I don't want to spend time with him.
Yeah, I will say that Birth by Sleep is kind of where the series takes a much more melancholy turn, even compared to Kingdom Hearts 2. It becomes this, it becomes kind of the story of like, I guess, greatness or paradise lost. Well, paradise lost is probably the wrong way of putting it, but like greatness lost, and how everything sort of collapsed.
This is the one too where the Disney stuff kind of starts to fade out a lot, right? Like,
well, yeah,
for like a Final Fantasy type game.
It's a prequel, and there is Disney stuff in it, but it really is the story of like how everything fell apart and how Xehanort became
Like
Xehanort.
Yeah.
And so there is Disney stuff in it, including one of my favorite bits where we find out how Pete, who's like the sort of incompetent antagonist who's been tagging along with the best antagonist, which is the evil queen.
Maleficent. Yeah.
Maleficent. We find out how he turned evil, which is that he interrupted Queen Minnie's like best person contest, and so Minnie sentenced him to like be in a cosmic void.
That seems a little,
Right.
overkill.
Oh, the best part is that this all happens in a Kingdom Hearts world that's essentially an advertisement for Disney World.
The best part
Best
is,
be under your best behavior, kids.
the best,
Yeah.
the best part is that this all happens 10 years before the events of Kingdom Hearts. And in Kingdom Hearts, like Donald and Goofy are talking about, Pete, how did you get out of your cosmic void? Like, it was 10 years in the cosmic void for interrupting Minnie's best person contest.
I mean, to be fair, he was trying to like rig it so that he'd win, and he's trying to be like, what is it, like Captain Power or something?
Okay, but he first of all, he wasn't trying to rig it. He was just trying to say he should win. He was just kind of being a general nuisance and bother. But second of all, since when is the punishment for that 10 years in the cosmic void?
I think the real reason he was punished is because you defeated him in kart racing. That's right. That's right. The way you defeat him and send him to a dark void is you defeat him in a kart racing minigame. I am not making this
And then
up.
he goes back to the cosmic dark realm? Like,
No, he didn't come from the cosmic dark realm. He was just a regular member of Disneytown society. Like, not a very popular one, but he was just a person in Disneytown who wanted to win the most popular person contest because Minnie set up a most popular person contest. She set up a best person contest, and Pete
that seems
was
like a jerk move right off the bat. So.
right. And so Pete was like, I want to win this best person contest, but nobody liked him very much. And so he didn't win. And so he made a fuss. And so Minnie was like, off to the cosmic void with you.
Oh yeah, sorry. The other way you thwart his victory is by pelting him, is by playing fruit volleyball with him.
We really need to have a discussion about the Kingdom Hearts justice system. It just seems like, not a lot of fair trials are going on there, if I'm going to be honest.
Oh, it is not a democracy.
No. No.
The iron fist
It's
of Queen
somewhere
City.
between a monarchy and a theocracy. Because I guess hearts are a religion. I'm not
Yes.
entirely sure.
Yes. We all worship the great hearts.
But the thing is, like essentially, they worship it, but it's like a thing that Kingdom Hearts will bring about like the end of existence. So when they make that giant yellow butt in the sky at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, like that's a bad thing, right?
No. So Kingdom Hearts is both a thing we worship and a thing we fear, and it's both a kingdom of hearts and the heart of kingdoms, and the end of days, and also maybe heaven.
It's also light.
Yes, it's
Kingdom
light,
Hearts
but
is
it's
light.
also bad, and it's
Best believe, or you're going to go to the cosmic dark realm, though, whatever, I guess.
Yeah, so Birth by Sleep is the prequel. It kind of takes some of the mechanics, like the card battle mechanics from Rechain of Memories, but makes them palatable. So now you kind of like load attacks into slots, and they recharge instead of having cards that you use up. So it works a little better, I would say, than card battling, and they're actual worlds now instead of procedurally generated dungeons.
Yeah.
So that's an improvement. But you do have to play each one thrice. So
the
Oh, man.
one step forward, one step back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm one of those. I actually like the Bravely Default boss rumble, I guess, or whatever you'd call it. But I know just from talking about that game, most people hate that replay stuff. So that can be very hard. It feels padded almost if you're doing too much of that.
Some of the worlds are completely different between characters, but a lot of them you're just going over the same maps, and it becomes very tedious.
the best.
But sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the best part of Kingdom of Hearts Birth by Sleep is the weird flirtation between Terra and Cinderella.
Now, I heard about this before. Someone else told me about this. This was kind of wild.
Wait,
So, we had somebody on there who was talking about that Cinderella has like a secret love interest. Is that this character?
I don't think it's a secret love interest so much as it is Terra's part of Cinderella world. So Cinderella world is actually one of the ones that's the most different between characters because Ventus is like miniature and he's hanging out with the mice, and Aqua is, I believe,
Aqua goes off into the wilderness basically, and then fights in a mansion.
yeah. But Terra's part is basically an escort mission, helping Cinderella get to the prince. But Cinderella seems way more into Terra than the prince, is all I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what somebody else said when they were on here.
I don't even remember that, but I'll take your word for it, because that sounds like Kingdom Hearts romance writing in a nutshell, where like they've clearly like the narrative has clearly set up two people to like be their love interests, but then the way it actually unfolds practically, it's like, you know, Sora and Kairi are supposed to be like love interests, but it totally Sora and Riku, right, from the actual text.
Oh my god, have we talked about Sora and Riku's reuniting in Kingdom Hearts 2?
I don't even remember the scene, but I assume it was extremely romantic.
So, Sora and Riku reunite in Kingdom Hearts 2. Kairi has reunited with Riku. Oh, and so what's happened is in Kingdom Hearts 2, at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, Riku looks like Xehanort because, well, he looks like Ansem. Ansem and Xehanort are one and the same. It's a complicated thing. Because he's let the darkness overtake him. But Kairi has realized who he is because she's Kairi, and that's like her whole role is to do vague special things. And so she like takes Riku's hand and puts it on Sora's hand, and because Riku's having the shame. And so she makes them do that, and then like Riku sees into the like vague etheric otherness and sees that Sora sees into the vague etheric otherness that it's Riku. And Sora, who has already been reunited with Kairi at this point and been like, "Hi Kairi, it's so great to see you," falls to his knees and sobs.
As you would.
Yeah. And now you know why there is so much gay fanfic.
Oh yeah,
about Kingdom Hearts.
A couple of minutes ago.
I mean, there would be anyway.
Mickey
but...
plus who was the edgelord guy?
Riku.
Riku, yeah, and
Mickey, Riku.
I had
okay,
safe search on moderate. I'm still kind of disturbed about that.
Anyway, Birth by Sleep.
It's a thing. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
I love hearing about it. Honestly, it's one of my favorite topics when we talk about it. It's great.
So after that comes everyone's favorite, Dream Drop Distance.
Dream Drop Distance is amazing.
I know. Okay, I would say that kind of sarcastically, but I think I'm the only person whose favorite Kingdom Hearts game is Dream Drop Distance.
No, it's amazing. What are you talking about? That's a great game.
It's okay. So I legitimately think it has the best gameplay of all the Kingdom Hearts games.
It has great gameplay. It's like slightly odd gameplay, but it's great gameplay.
It's I think the first game where they actually managed to integrate kind of the like loadout mechanics with the action RPG gameplay, with like the platforming and the motion flow system or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
flow motion.
Yeah. Well, because it's where they introduced the motion thing, and it's good.
Yeah.
And like it works for that game really well.
Yeah, the implementation in Kingdom Hearts 3 is a little spotty, but in Dream Drop Distance it works super well. So the premise of Dream Drop Distance is that Sora and Riku have to plunge into dream worlds, and then you kind of alternate playing between them over the course of the game as they plunge further and further into dream worlds, and then face a final boss, and then you figure out what Xehanort's big plan is. And there are lots of Xehanorts. Too many Xehanorts, one might say, in this game.
What I'm always telling everybody, you know.
And
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, and basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to get their mark of mastery, which is basically the way that you know that you are the best Keyblade master, that you are in charge of your Keyblade.
It's basically a license to wield a giant sword.
Yeah, Keyblades, I have lots of questions about those. So I hope you that.
Keyblades, they're both keys and swords, and they do magic, and they open things, and you fight people with them. What's to know?
So is it, everyone seems to have their own style, right? Is the Keyblade, like, do you make your own? Where does it come from? Because
it's granted to you by cosmic powers.
Okay, so why are some so badass looking and some look ridiculous. Like one's like a giant key and one looks like a sword that might also be a key. I just don't understand the design. Looks like all the bad guys get the cooler ones, I guess.
Because your Keyblade is meant to reflect, I mean, this is not really in character, in universe, but your Keyblade sort of reflects you, but also
Where you got it from.
yeah. Also, here's a question that I've never really gotten an answer to. Where does Riku get his Keyblade? It's sort of forged from Soul Eater, but like how and where and when and how does that happen?
I don't know. I don't know Kingdom Hearts lore very well. I play the game and then it's kind of like in one ear and out the other. So I forget exactly
So
how we got it.
So, in theory, in the Kingdom Hearts universe, your Keyblade is granted to you by you become a Keyblade wielder when the power of the Keyblade is passed on to you by a Keyblade master. And the Keyblade is granted to you by someone or by something. But Riku's Keyblade, which is called Way to Dawn, is like an extension of a sword that he wielded when he was evil, which was called Soul Eater. And we never see...
Yeah, Soul Eater.
Soul Eater was great. It's cool.
That's
looking.
a good name.
Yeah. But we never see the moment when Soul Eater becomes Way to Dawn or like how he gets it. But I guess Mickey is a Keyblade master, so maybe he had something to do with it.
Probably. Who knows? Nomura's making this up as he goes along, so...
He sure is.
So yeah, Dream Drop Distance. This is where you finally get to play around in Tron World, which is fun.
You got to do that in...
Oh yeah, you also do that in Birth by Sleep, right?
No,
in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
But you get to play in, instead of OG Tron World, you play around in Tron Legacy World.
Yeah, and the light cycle is much easier to ride now, and so it's actually fun.
Oh yeah, that is true. There is a big light cycle level in this game. This is also the first game where the levels are just huge as compared to the previous Kingdom Hearts games where they're very compact. Dream Drop Distance has like absolutely massive Disney worlds, which I think they pulled off really well.
It's also a game where because you're playing as both Riku and as Sora, you play the worlds multiple times, but they do a much better job than they did in Birth by Sleep of having you play different parts and different aspects of the worlds when you're with different characters. So Riku and Sora are on sort of parallel journeys, and so for instance, there's a Hunchback of Notre Dame level, and Riku interacts with different characters in the Hunchback of Notre Dame level than Sora does. And because Riku's journey is so much more about sort of coming to peace with the actions that he has had and his vision of himself, and Sora's journey is much more about like having confidence. Their interactions with the characters are very different, and the people that they sort of ping off of are very different, and just the actions that they take and what you do are very different.
What are the ages kind of the main characters? Are they kind of look to be drawn early teens? Does that ever come up, or is it just kind of...
This is hysterical to me. I think that Riku's like a year older than Sora, and Sora's like 14 or something, and Riku's like 15, or maybe Sora's 15 at this point and Riku's 16. But by Kingdom Hearts 3, Riku looks legit 25.
That graphical upgrade.
I mean, the darkness will age you, right?
They're in their like early to mid-teens, I think.
Okay, that's what I assumed, because it definitely seems like, kind of aimed at younger kids. I don't want to say younger kids, but you aimed at that one. But
yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, you got a lot of adult stuff for those kids to be dealing with, I guess.
Yeah, well, I have a theory about Riku, which there is almost no in-text evidence for, although I think there is some. But I think pretty legit. Riku has a troubled home life, right? Like Riku has.
I mean, they don't have parents.
Sora has parents. Sora has parents. We don't ever meet his parents, but we hear his mom's voice in the first game, and in the flashbacks in Birth by Sleep or whenever it was, when we see like little baby Sora and Riku, like 8-year-old Sora and Riku, Sora's father had taken them to Destiny Island. So we know Sora has parents. Kairi doesn't have parents because she is a magical girl who got spit out from her world and has no memories, but she does have a grandmother.
Yeah, so Kairi's parents reside, I guess, in Radiant Garden. You just never meet them, right? Something like that. Radiant Garden, by the way, is what Hollow Bastion used to be and then turned back into again.
Yes.
Because that's just how video games work.
It's one of those like storytelling things where you kind of got to remove the parents from the equation, because otherwise it gets too weird. So yeah. I guess that.
We're sending our teenagers off to be killed by evil heart monsters.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
So, do you think Sora's parents know about all of this? Because again, Riku's parents don't care. But do you think that Sora's parents know about all this?
I think it's like Pokemon, where it's just a world where you send 10-year-olds off to fight Team Rocket, because apparently the cops don't do shit.
Okay.
So yeah, that Dream Drop Distance, very interesting game. It has kind of like, and this is also in previous Kingdom Hearts games, but it has one of my favorite worlds, which is like this chopped up nightmare Art Deco world at the end.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the aesthetic.
It also has Fantasia World, which is beautiful.
It is probably the best world in the entire series. And it's very different between Sora and Riku. It's this amazing combination of like the music of Fantasia with a bunch of different like weird fantasy aesthetics that go through different seasons.
Yeah.
It's incredibly well put together.
And
sorry, go ahead.
in true Kingdom Hearts fashion, so it's doing this beautiful like aesthetic work with the sound and the imagery of the worlds. It's doing some of the best narrative work in the entire series in terms of the sort of character arcs of the two leads. It's doing some of the best gameplay mechanics. It's doing some of the best sort of structural work in terms of how the two like leads arcs play off of each other and how you bounce through them. And throughout it all, you have little pets who you are encouraged to name and paint and feed and
That's the hook. That's what gets you coming back, right?
Yeah, they're called Dream Eaters. They're essentially your familiars, because you don't have a party in this game. So you just send them out to kind of do your bidding. And essentially you fight kind of like evil Dream Eaters, but you also kind of like, I guess, capture the evil Dream Eaters and make them into good Dream Eaters, and it's essentially just like a color palette swap.
Yeah, and you name them, and they battle with you, and if you let their health get too low, they will die. They will like.
Oh man.
They will dissipate into nothing.
Wait, is there permadeath for
There's
Death Eater
permadeath
for
for
Dream Eaters?
Dream Eaters.
I never encountered that.
I did. I had to go back to a different save point.
Oh no.
Also, because it's a Kingdom Hearts game, they won't let you name your Dream Eaters with swear words. But also because it's a Kingdom Hearts game, they consider really silly things to be swear words. So
like fart. I tried fart. It didn't work.
I had to, my wife and her sister, when they were playing through Dream Drop Distance, this was before I knew what these games were. they were trying to name one of them Sparkles, but with a Z on the end, and they couldn't figure out why it wouldn't accept it. I was like, you guys, they think it's Les. So all
Oh
Wow.
God.
yeah, all of my Dream Eaters had gay themed names. Just to
Which does make sense because they're very like rainbow colored when you turn them good.
yeah. Yeah.
So it's appropriate. So after Dream Drop Distance comes, I guess, Kingdom Hearts Union Kai or something like that.
Oh Jesus. I don't even is that one of the like you've now lost me.
So Kingdom Hearts Kai is what precedes Kingdom Hearts 3, right? So there's like
Oh, are you talking about the one that follows Aqua in
so that's 0.2 Birth by Sleep,
right?
which is distinct from the original Birth by Sleep. That's what you play between Dream Drop Distance and the prologue for Kingdom Hearts 3. It was originally a mobile game and browser game, and they adapted essentially some cutscenes from it to make a movie.
Oh, I've seen the movie of this one. Yeah. With the I can't remember what their names are, but the people with the animal masks.
Yeah, I don't remember them either. It's been a while.
My feeling watching the movie of that is that I was so into the movie of that, and I wish that they'd made a real game because I wanted to play the real game.
They did. It's just a browser
Okay, but I'm
game.
not going to play that browser game.
That is entirely fair. They are named. I'm trying to look this up. What they're called. Union leaders.
That seems like they had a different name.
Yeah, they're not like an army of Jimmy Hoffas or anything.
They're busting up the strikers or whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Anyway, this is basically a Keyblade
Yeah.
War backstory thing.
Foretellers.
Foretellers.
That's what they're
Foretellers.
called. Yeah.
This is a Keyblade War backstory thing, and if you're asking yourself right now, what is the Keyblade War? We never mentioned that. That's fair.
Oh yeah, nobody who's never played a Kingdom Hearts game will understand what's going on in this podcast. That's okay.
I'm following along. I've got it. You know,
So, okay, there was years before even the prequel. This is the prequel to the prequel.
Yes.
Years before the prequel, Birth by Sleep, there was a giant war called the Keyblade War, where light and darkness faced off, and I guess it kind of ended in a stalemate, and it ended up with like the worlds all splitting off into their own Disney
Because
bubbles.
there used to be one world.
Yeah. One world where Aurora could go knock on Sully's door and they could hang out. And those worlds all split up, coincidentally, by the exact Disney movies of their origins. You wouldn't think a world where everything was mixed together would split up like
Well,
that, but
In
you know.
in the Kingdom Hearts universe, do they think of it as being Disney movies or?
I don't know what they think of these things as being, because they have like analogs of real world Disney stuff. Like they have the theme park world in Birth by Sleep, and then they have like actual theme park rides as attacks in Kingdom Hearts 3. That's right. You can hop on a mine train coaster and use that to defeat enemies.
is it a summons, like a Knights of the Round type thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can summon theme park rides to kill enemies.
Yeah, there's actually a part in like the climactic final battle where you have to use the water coaster.
Yes, this is great. I want to play this now.
Kingdom Hearts 3. Okay, so like before we get to Kingdom Hearts 3 though, so just go back to Union Kai for a second. So it's like this movie where you're watching these 6 foretellers or whatever
So-
gather together, and they essentially all turn traitor against each, or they'll turn on each other.
It's
essentially
actually a really compelling story. Just watching, so they were like the six keepers of, they were like the six Keyblade masters, and they each had a like a union behind them.
Yeah.
And they were
like a guild
yeah,
almost.
and they were led by one leader who it turns out is Braig.
Yeah. Sorry, that's like the biggest spoiler in this podcast, but that's okay.
Sorry, spoilers, people who didn't want to know that Braig was the leader.
It's fine. Everything's being spoiled in this podcast. So yeah, Zigbar / Braig is who you think throughout the series is just like some dude, like one of the randos who somehow ended up in Organization 13. No, he's actually the mastermind of all of this. Xehanort was just a pawn all along.
Anyway,
Zigbar is such a good name, though.
Zigbar is a great name, and I think Braig is a stupid name.
Yeah, sorry. For listeners who aren't familiar with this, when you join Organization 13, you shuffle the letters of your name and add an X. So Sora becomes Roxas, Braig becomes Zigbar, Lorium becomes Marluxia, etc.
Yeah. So...
Wouldn't they just be able to find anybody with an X in their name and just basically, like, cosmic darkness them? I mean, wouldn't that be kind of...
Yeah, so if your name is like Xavier, fuck you. You can't join.
Gone, buddy.
So anyway, Braig was already evil before he lost his heart. And he is the head of this guild of guild leaders and basically manipulates them into turning on each other, is my recollection. And it's actually just this really fascinating story of this tragic downfall. All of the characters are really interesting, and
you kind of understand all their motivations.
Yeah.
Like, you have people who are like, I have full faith in the Master of Masters, and I think that you're betraying him, and others of them distrust him. And they all have understandable reasons for kind of turning on each other. And one of them, I think, tries to hold them all together, but she fails miserably. They do some interesting character work, even if it gets kind of boring watching them all interact in the same 5 rooms over and over again.
One of those places where, again, gameplay versus movies.
Yeah, absolutely. But by the end, it's not entirely clear how evil he is, because it seems like he has a plan. We don't exactly know what his plan is at the end. He's just kind of sends someone after a mystery box, like a literal mystery box.
Oh.
Which is the same mystery box that throughout the preceding games, Maleficent was also trying to find.
Well, especially in Kingdom Hearts 3, right? This mystery box is like this running thread throughout Kingdom Hearts 3 and does not actually come to fruition throughout Kingdom Hearts 3. It comes to fruition in a cutscene at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, like a missing special scene at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 that's like a teaser for another game.
Oh yeah, and you still don't know what's in it.
Right. So I am very ready for whatever game that is.
Which might be Melody of Memory, but I doubt
think it's Melody of Memory.
So after Union Kai comes the prologue to Kingdom Hearts 3. That's where we are right now.
Which is following... So at the end of Birth by Sleep, we still haven't talked about the Realm of Darkness.
There's a realm and it's dark,
right.
And that's where people go. That's where Aqua ended
right.
up after the events of Birth by Sleep. And she's been there for a decade.
Yeah, Riku spent some time there. Basically, you go there if your heart like falls to darkness. Aqua's been there for a decade, and at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3, like before Kingdom Hearts 3, there's like a 3-hour game where you play as Aqua at the beginning of her time in the Realm of Darkness.
And there are a bunch of mirrors, and you can walk through mirrors.
Yeah. It is a perfectly fine game. Aqua's a good character.
Aqua's a good character. It's a little bit, honestly, it's a little bit boring, to be honest, because it's not like the cool Disney stuff. There's basically no Disney stuff in that game.
Well,
But and if I can be like a picky gamer for a second, it runs at 30 frames per second instead of 60 like Kingdom Hearts 3, so it looks really herky jerky. And I'm glad they got Kingdom Hearts 3 running at 60 frames per second on like a base PS4. Anyway, so that's a prologue, and then Kingdom Hearts 3, which is the most recent game in the series, which is what I finished this summer. But Thoughts finished about a year before I did.
yeah, but I've seen it played twice and played it once. So, it is a lot. Kingdom Hearts 3 is a lot.
It's almost like a culmination of everything, and also just, in some ways, narratively, like a deeply dissatisfying game.
So by the time you get to Kingdom Hearts 3, as you can probably imagine from everything we've talked about, there are 500 plot threads. There are 500 characters, all of whom are actually like 5 characters. You have to visit all of the characters, but also you have to be visiting Disney worlds. But actually by this point in the game, there's no reason that you should be visiting Disney worlds. Like, in the first 2 Kingdom Hearts games, the first 2 mainline Kingdom Hearts games, the reason that Sora was visiting Disney worlds was he was looking for his friends. But, like, Sora knows where his friends are now. And his friends...
Yeah, also in Kingdom Hearts 2, you're kind of chasing down Maleficent.
Yeah, but again, there's no reason to chase down Maleficent anymore. Like,
yeah,
Sora knows where his friends are, he knows where the bad guys are, basically, and his friends are off doing the plot stuff while he is kind of doing a busy work mission. So basically, the reason that Sora is visiting Disney worlds in Kingdom Hearts 3 is that he is sort of vaguely searching for the power of waking, which is the thing that Riku got at the end of Dream Drop Distance.
Basically, Sora failed his Mark of Mastery exam.
Right, but Riku passed it because Riku's excellent. And so Riku has the power of waking. And they're like, Sora, you should go try and find the power of waking so that you can wake up Ventus if we find him. But, like, actually, if you don't, it'll be fine because Riku has it.
So, yeah, he spends most of the game visiting Disney worlds that have nothing to do with the main plot, but just so happen to be overrun by Heartless anyway.
Right.
And only one of the later Disney worlds kind of figures into the main plot because Organization 13 is hanging out there for some reason.
Which one is that?
Pirates, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's always...
What's-her-face is hanging out there. Larxene.
There's always an organization member, like, in any particular Disney world. Like, they're usually an organization member shows up because they're always trying to find one of the boxes. Like, usually they're like, there's a black box, but it's not the right black box. It's just that...
Yeah, I think one of the worlds is where it becomes clear to the rest of Organization 13 that Demyx has betrayed them.
Right. I
forget which one that is.
I have no recollection of which world that was.
Anyway, Demyx, the useless Organization 13 member, turns traitor and goes to the other side. Along with, this happened in an earlier game, Zexion, whose real name is Ienzo. Ienzo is also gone to the good side. But Demyx is still a nobody, so he's still Demyx. So we never actually find out his original name. I don't even know what his original name would be. Mide? Medi? I don't know. Dime. Anyway. Yedem. Anyway. So Demyx still doesn't have a heart, so he's still Demyx, but he's working for the good guys now. And he betrays all of those dudes, including Larxene. And it's very fun. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3, you run around. It has nothing to do with the plot. You visit mostly more recent Disney properties
Yeah.
as compared to older Kingdom Hearts games. So the worlds are based around Toy Story, Monsters Inc.,
Tang-
Big Hero 6,
Tangled,
Frozen. Sorry?
Tangled.
Oh, yeah, Tangled.
And actually, this leads to, for some of the like really recent Disney properties like Tangled and Frozen, I think that they did have some constraints because, uh, for instance, Tangled, they just replay the plot of Tangled,
Yeah.
but with like some key scenes missing. So if you've ever like read a fan fiction that's like the Harry Potter characters read Harry Potter and comment on it. It's a lot like that. Like Tangled happens and Sora and Donald and Goofy comment on Tangled.
It's kind of like when people rewrite, like do a fanfic rewrite of a story but insert some OCs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah. There's really no need for the climactic romantic scene in Tangled to have Sora and Donald and Goofy hanging in the window.
Oh yeah, they're like Greek chorusing the entire thing. Little creepy. You'd think they'd give them some privacy, but apparently not.
No.
So yeah, we're going through mostly more recent Disney worlds. They look gorgeous. They look like they very much match the movie aesthetics, which I think was a pretty amazing feat. Some of the worlds are good. Some of the worlds are less good. I think the Toy Story world is one of the pinnacles of the series for me, just because it's so brilliantly inventive. At one point in that world, you fight like a weird, like a giant gothic Lolita doll brought to life by evil spirits.
Toy Story World is pretty phenomenal in terms of just the range of what you get to fight and how you get to fight it. You get to be a giant mecha, but instead of being a giant mecha, you're like a giant mecha toy. So you're inside like a little robot toy, but you're fighting as it. There's just like a lot of really amazingly fun nonsense that you get to do in Toy Story World.
Yeah, that's interesting because I would say like if you had to pick maybe like a saddest series, like the Toy Story series feels like it's got a lot of heft to it, right? Like it's kind of a sad series, growing up and forgetting your youth and discarding things that were once important to you and stuff like that. But that's kind of interesting that they were able to make that a lot more fun.
Yeah, the game is pure joy.
Yeah. Yeah. They go for a little bit of pathos. So the idea of it is that half of they've lost the humans. So they have been separated, like the world has been split in two. So they are separated from the humans and they are trying to figure out where everybody's gone. And doesn't Buzz turn evil at the end or something?
I don't think so. I can't remember.
I feel like they corrupt somebody's heart and somebody turns evil and you have to fight evil Buzz. That may just be me making stuff up.
You fight something in you fight like an evil spaceship thing in like a Buzz Lightyear world, kinda. It's been a while since I've played it.
This is very possible that, yeah. Anyway,
we'll look it up.
Look it up. The point is, at the end, it's all about whether or not toys can have hearts, and of course they can. Because in Kingdom Hearts, everything is about whether something can have a heart and whether its heart is connected.
Yeah, a lot of things that you wouldn't expect to have circulatory systems do, apparently, in Kingdom Hearts. It's just the way the world works. Every time I say that, some Kingdom Hearts fan gets mad at me and they're like, it's a metaphorical heart. I get that.
Our hearts are connected.
To the kingdom or to each other?
Like, through a dialysis machine? Yeah, so that they mostly adapted more recent Disney worlds. They look gorgeous. The plot makes no sense and basically doesn't advance until the last 3 or 4 hours of the game, which is just a lot of plot all at once. Yep. And you get to, I guess in honor of Led Zeppelin, visit Stairway to Heaven.
Yep.
Or Scala ad Caelum, as they call it in the game. And that's where everything ends up, in this basically Mediterranean mountain resort town that's been corrupted into Asherian nonsense. That's where the game ends. And a bunch of stuff happens.
Yeah. The important thing is that in the finale of the game, there are 5 Soras and 3 or 4 Kairis and 3 Rikus.
Jeez, and some of them don't have souls, right? Is that, or are nobodies or whatever?
They don't have hearts, which are souls.
Okay.
Yeah. Numerous of them don't have hearts or don't have bodies or need bodies and they get bodies. Also, I have a question that
I probably don't have an answer, but ask away.
You might be able... This is more of like a, what is your theory? How many hearts do you think that Xehanort's Heartless has?
I think Xehanort is kind of like Voldemort. I think he essentially Horcruxed himself. So I think it's 1 heart total, and it's just pieces of hearts in different places.
But here's what I'm saying. So Xehanort put his heart in Terra's body. So at that point, there were 2 hearts in 1 body, right? And then a Heartless was made of that Xehanort. And that was
that's presuming that Terra actually has a heart and isn't like a nobody like Xerath or something.
I think that Terra isn't a nobody. I think that Terra is a person.
Okay, yeah, he has a heart but no brain.
Right.
Okay.
So at that point, and that's like the Xehanort that we knew for like most of the game. So does that Heartless that we knew for most of the game...
That Heartless has a heart.
1 heart or 2 hearts? Does it also have...
Xehanort doesn't have a heart because he's a nobody. He's a nobody of, I guess, no heart. Right? Because Xehanort's in a rearrangement of no heart.
Okay, so what about Ansem, the Heartless? Right? It made a nobody and a Heartless. So does the Heartless also have Terra's heart? Where is Terra's heart?
Terra's heart is in Terra.
Right, which is... So does the nobody have Terra's heart?
Wait, so the nobody is Xehanort.
Right. So does Xehanort have Terra's heart, but not Xehanort's heart?
I mean, are you talking about Terranort or are you talking about Ansem Xehanort? Or you're talking about the original, like, Nimoy Xehanort?
Okay. Wait, let's...
Oh yeah, by the way, Xehanort is voiced by Leonard Nimoy in Birth by Sleep.
Okay. So, we start out with Terra, and then there's Nimoy Xehanort, right?
Yeah.
Nimoy Xehanort puts his heart into Terra's body. And that makes Terra.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. And then at some point that splits into a nobody and a Heartless.
So the nobody is, I guess, Terranort. And the Heartless would be Ansem Xehanort, who is not actually Ansem, by the way. Ansem is actually Deez, or Darkness and Zero,
right,
who's voiced by Christopher
right.
Lee.
So
yeah.
Terranort is a nobody. So does Terranort have 1 heart? Which is to say...
Yeah, Terranort has Terra's original heart, which is why, like, they can kind of get through to him, and they're like, Terra's heart, fight the nobody that's inside you.
Okay. I now feel settled.
I think. I don't know. I'm just making shit up. Somebody's going to listen to this and be like, you've got it all wrong.
I can't wait for
that's
the
okay.
corrections. I want to see the corrections doc and just be like, what?
This is going to be the worst link dump to prepare because I have to fact check all this stupid bullshit.
say how ridiculous it is that a heartless has a heart and a nobody has a body.
I'm looking at what is this sword called? No Name. This thing looks wild. More of that, please.
Oh, I only know some of the swords' names.
I guess it's
so. What I always found
Xehanort's Keyblade. It's
like
a
Xehanort's Keyblade. Okay, yeah. What I found really funny about Xehanort is that it's if you take out the X, it's a rearrangement of no heart. Does that mean he was a nobody to begin with? Does that mean he never had a heart?
I think he had. It's metaphorical. It's just like thematic. It's just saying that he's a bad dude.
So bad dudes can have hearts. Okay.
Yeah. They're just not very good ones.
So he has a bad heart.
Yeah. It should.
Then why did they make it bad heart and rearrange it as Zeha?
Don't do this on the fly.
Brat. Zeha bread, I guess.
I hope at some point we get a Kingdom Hearts lore master on here just to set everybody straight on all these types of things.
Oh, someone from Demix, not the character Demix, the occasional podcast contributor Demix. If she listens to this podcast, she's probably going to fucking kill us. That's okay.
We deserve sorry, Demix.
But anyway, I don't really know what's going on, but that's okay because Melody of Memory is coming out as of this recording next week, and that's for the first time. I shouldn't say for the first time because Atlantica was a rhythm game, mini game inside Kingdom Hearts 2, but now Kingdom Hearts is getting its very own dedicated rhythm game.
I'm super excited to play this rhythm game and see what extremely important plot stuff they are burying in this rhythm game.
Yeah, I might actually get it.
Is it a launch title for all the new systems, or is that just timing-wise, that's when it came out?
I think it's timing-wise. I'm not sure if it's coming to next-gen consoles.
Oh, okay.
As of now, not slated for next-gen consoles, but by backwards compatibility, should be playable on them.
Oh, okay. Weird, but yeah.
Yeah, so on November 13th, you too can not play Disney songs, but play songs from the soundtrack of Kingdom Hearts.
Are you kidding me? No, come on.
But to be fair, Kingdom Hearts has an amazing soundtrack.
It does. It does have an incredible soundtrack. I think you do get to play. Do you at least get to play the Hikaru Utada songs?
I don't know.
Do I at least get to play Sanctuary?
Oh, surely they're going to let you play Sanctuary.
If they don't let me play Sanctuary, then I ain't buying it.
We rock it.
This is what I was talking about earlier, though. Those weird decisions. You got a back catalog of songs the whole world knows. It's just, I don't know. Maybe Kingdom Hearts, what kind of I think about it most is it seems like an insular world that's okay with being just that. It's not trying to bring new people in all the time. It seems like it's just okay being what it is and staying there.
And yet,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And yet somehow there are so many people who are so invested, and it keeps bringing in new people.
Yeah, but from my perspective, it's weird because you've got a Disney license in a world that doesn't make many Disney games right now. That isn't just shovelware, play this type stuff for a week to align with the movie. It just seems like maybe Disney isn't taking it as part of their own world almost sometimes.
I think they see a line on a balance sheet an income statement that's black, and they don't want to mess with it, so they just leave it like that. That's all it is to them, I would guess. As long as Nomura keeps making them money, they'll keep letting him make these games. But the second it stops, the second that line goes red, Kingdom Hearts is going to come to an end. That would be my guess.
Well, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen soon. So.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3 sold like gangbusters, which is incredible for a game built on 15 years of lore.
And 15-year-old fashion.
Oh yeah. Gotta love those Sora dungarees. Yeah, they've got some. The fashion sense in Kingdom Hearts is really weird. What's going on with like Riku's clothes in Kingdom Hearts 3? Why is he wearing like 3/4 pants with, I guess, like gingham cuffs?
I have an answer for you.
I would love to hear it.
It's because they're his special traveling magic clothes, and they match Mickey's. So Mickey's pants have to be 3/4 because that's like how Mickey works. So like, of course, Riku's also have to be 3/4.
But what's with the checkered cuffs?
The checkered cuffs are just because like it's Kingdom Hearts. Everything has to be checked, or zippered, or buckled. You want him to be in solid colors? What is wrong with you?
I don't know. Maybe a nice paisley pattern.
No, that's not
It would look
Hot
so bad.
Topic.
Okay, so Riku's like 100% Hot Topic.
Yes, but like, just to be clear, this is a real evolution in Riku's fashion sense and character design from where he was in both Kingdom Hearts 1 when he was tragic, and in Kingdom Hearts 2 when he was the most emo a person has ever been. So we are.
He also got a haircut without ever visiting a barber.
He did.
Which astonishes me.
Possibly he did it blindfolded. So
It is a really bad haircut. It is the worst change in hairstyle I've ever seen on a character going from one game to another.
I don't know, man. I think he had really bad hair in Kingdom Hearts 1, so anything is an improvement.
I mean, it's all really bad. I mean, then again, Sora's running around with spikes, so what do we know? It's still like it's like he's a boy band member from 1997.
Yes, that is exactly what it's like.
Except for like when the series starts, he has Haley Joel Osment's pre-puberty voice, and then literally in the next game, like between recording those two games, Osment went through puberty and his voice dropped like an octave.
Oh man.
But like within the story, like a week has passed. So in a week, Sora's voice drops like an octave. It's great.
It is fantastic.
Yeah. So any other thoughts you had on like what it was like to just play through this entire series? How did you feel like once you got to the end of it? Which is not really the end because Melody of Memory comes out next week. But how did you feel once you got to the end of Kingdom Hearts 3?
I felt like there was nothing. Like, this was what I did with my life for 2 months. Because in order to play Kingdom Hearts in 2 months, you have to really just do nothing but play Kingdom Hearts for 2 months and think about nothing but Kingdom Hearts and talk about nothing but Kingdom Hearts and just live Kingdom Hearts. And let me tell you, living Kingdom Hearts is an experience. And so when I got to the end of it, it was just sort of coming to a hard stop and like Wile E. Coyote running off a cliff and your legs spinning in the air. I was really like, it was kind of like when you finish like a binge of a television show that you've been doing for a long time, like that same like restless purposelessness, except much more.
Yeah, like you just binge 12 seasons of Bones and you have nothing else to do.
Yeah, except, you know, I've done that with TV and like I'm used to that feeling. It was much more. Like I wasn't prepared because I'm not used to games. I wasn't prepared for how much the interactivity of gaming would make it so much kind of more integrated into my life and my experience, and so therefore how much harder it would be to stop doing it. So I do remember it was a real like just transition moment of like literally what is it that I'm supposed to do now. I think that I spent a really long time looking up Kingdom Hearts playlists on like 8 tracks, just just like anything to sort of smooth the transition.
Yeah, to kind of like wean yourself off of it almost.
Yeah.
When I finished, I'll admit it. I went and looked up some Kingdom Hearts fanfic. It was all really badly written.
Yes, I also did that. Kingdom Hearts fanfiction is terrible. I don't know what I expected.
And this is not me like railing on fanfic, because there is some actually genuinely excellently written fanfic out there. But for some reason, Kingdom Hearts fanfic is just a special kind of bad.
I don't really know what it is, because I read a lot of fanfiction in a lot of different places, and I have not found a single good Kingdom Hearts one.
Yeah, it was. I think it's because everybody kind of wants different things out of Kingdom Hearts. So you have people who are very like want the more traditional Kingdom Hearts experience, so they're writing. Sora and Kairi is very lovey-dovey in a way that's not supported by the text. And you have other people who want to kind of read the unintentional implications into the game. So, like, Sora and Riku are like straight up gay for each other in some fanfics, and none of these things all like really fit together.
I think something about Kingdom Hearts in terms of like, it is such a strange text.
It's a text that has the quality of fanfic almost of itself. So it's like it's almost like a fanfic palimpsest. Yeah. It's like second order fanfic. Right?
But
it feels weird at that point.
But so for instance, it's not the only text that has that sort of quality. Farscape, for instance, has that quality, right? It feels fanfiction-y just in and of itself. But there is good Farscape fanfiction out there. You can write to Farscape and write to that text and write to that feeling and that atmosphere and that canon. And it might not feel exactly like Farscape, but you will get some shade of Farscape in it. For whatever reason, there is something so just bizarre about Kingdom Hearts, about the mixture of what it is, that it is both like serious on some levels, like it is there's genuine emotion and there's genuine character arc stuff, but even some of the genuine character arc and emotion stuff is done in like really ridiculous ways that you are both sort of consuming ironically and feeling real things about. And then also there's like Disney stuff on top of it that you are consuming at the same time as you are feeling these simultaneous ironic and like real feelings. Like, how do you write fan fiction about that? How do you replicate that?
Yeah, how do you replicate that mix of irony and sincerity? And to be clear, I think the games are like 95% sincere, with some meta stuff in Kingdom Hearts 3 just for like the loyal fans. How do you replicate that feeling to the audience? How do you replicate something that as text is 95% sincere, but will read as 50% sincere and ironic to the audience? Right. Like, I don't know how that would take, like, at the point where you do it intentionally, it no longer replicates that feeling. You have to do it unintentionally. The only Kingdom Hearts fanfic that would work would be Kingdom Hearts fanfic that feels like Kingdom Hearts by accident.
Yeah.
And that's deep. That's something.
Yeah, I don't even know how they would do it. So for me, when I got to the end of the series, I played it stretched out over a much longer period, and I'd played a lot of other games simultaneously and in between. So I didn't have like that big marathon feeling that you might have had thoughts. I I started like back in March 2019 or so, and finished in I think June 2020. I want to say. So I'd like really stretch this out, and I'd played Death Stranding in between for a month. So for me, it was is I'd like let it incubate a lot longer, so it's a little bit easier to kind of wean myself off of it. But when I got to the end, I remember being kind of simultaneously annoyed because Kingdom Hearts 3 doesn't have a great ending, and simultaneously extremely curious about where it was going, and almost a little sad that it didn't end in a more satisfying way. And so I didn't really know how to feel about it going forward, or whether I'd invest in more Kingdom Hearts games. Like, as of this recording right now, I'm still on the fence over whether I'm going to get Melody of Memory or not, and whether I actually want to dive in and subject myself to a rhythm game to see where the story goes from here. But
That
yeah, so go
I was
ahead.
gonna say that seems like a really understandable and extremely like valid reaction to what Kingdom Hearts has put you and me both through. I am a person. I've fallen victim to Kingdom Hearts. I am yet another victim of Kingdom Hearts. I will be. I mean, even if my wife weren't going to, insist on it, I will be buying every Kingdom Hearts game ever made.
Oh, I'm definitely like that with some like with some artists and some series for sure. So I'm like, I say I'm on the fence now, but that's also because I might be moving soon, and that might complicate things with buying more stuff. So that's why I'm a little hesitant to buy more stuff right now. But I think the reason that I've been kind of a little more removed from it is that I did let it incubate a lot more. So now I've kind of like thought on it a bit. I'm like, do I want to do more of this? Is this a natural stopping point? But I think where we kind of had in common is we both kind of fell victim to Kingdom Hearts. Like at any point, I could have said, "This is sunk cost. I spent my $20. I don't need to experience more of this." But I just kept going,
Yeah.
and I kept going and kept going. And I think that's kind of speaks to the quality of the series. That even when it's really stupid and annoying, it's weirdly
It's
compelling.
so compelling. And even having played through all of it in 2 months, as a person who at the beginning of it, I cannot stress this enough, did not know how to play video games. I can't really explain what the draw is.
Yeah, it's this weirdly compelling but ineffable sort of sentiment. Actually, on that subject, I wanted to ask: do you now feel like you play other video games better after having played through the entire Kingdom Hearts series?
So again, I very shortly after finishing, less than a month after finishing Kingdom Hearts, I got a concussion and was not able to play video games for about 9 months because of the concussion and then after effects of it. So I lost some of the skill that I got,
Okay.
but I do think that I do definitely play video games better because of it. I just understand their mechanics better. Like I literally understand the layout of the the controller better. I sort of understand the idea that, all right, you're going to have to go through this game, and as you level up, there are going to be like, you have armor and you're probably going to have to like switch out things on your armor, and you're going to have abilities that you're going to have to like decide what your abilities are, and maybe have to like make choices about this ability and how you level it up, and maybe you're going to have to do trade-offs. um I'm never got great at jumping for whatever reason. That's a big.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Kingdom Hearts is also a platformer.
Yeah.
We didn't mention that before, but yeah, it's an action RPG platformer that also has a rhythm minigame in one of them for some reason, and a kart racing minigame, and a fruit volleyball minigame.
Yeah, there's also in Kingdom Hearts 3, there's like a little Candy Crush minigame at one point.
Oh, Kingdom Hearts 3 has like all the retro minigames. And like the retro. Have you ever like had one of those old LCD console things?
No.
Okay, I've had a couple, because funnily enough, my when I went to visit India as a kid, my cousins there had some, and they're a lot older than me, so they handed them down to me. So my gifts from India that I brought back with me as a 6-year-old were these old LCD consoles, and like getting to play those in Kingdom Hearts 3 was like a flashback to me as a 6-year-old, which is a really interesting bit of nostalgia for me. Even if they're like different games, it still engendered that same feeling. But yeah, lots of mini games, and also a platformer.
Yeah.
And so you're saying you never got good at jumping.
Yeah, it was a real block for me, but it did make me better at that, and I just in general I got better at reaction times and just maneuvering around the controller, and I didn't lose all of that, and I some of the
It's like riding a bike almost.
Some of the skills absolutely did transfer, and even though I'm not like when we were playing Mass Effect, I wasn't nearly as good as my wife, and Mass Effect is a really different kind of game than Kingdom Hearts. You have to aim at things and shoot them. I was noticeably better at Mass Effect than I was at Horizon Zero Dawn. So
Yeah, I can't imagine playing Mass Effect on a controller, because I played it all on PC. I was like, I have to shoot things with a controller? How do I do that? But yeah, it's great that you've kind of gotten. I was about to say it's great that you kind of got sucked in. I don't know if it's great or not, because it is Kingdom Hearts after all. But I'm glad that you enjoyed your time with the series, and I'm glad that you've moved on to other series and enjoyed them too. It's always great when people find something they love and then branch out from there and find even more things they love. So this was a really interesting conversation. Thoughts. I am very glad that we were able to speak to you today.
I was so glad to get to come on and talk about, honestly, one of my favorite things in the world to talk about, which is Kingdom Hearts. So
yeah, this has been a really interesting episode, and I'm so glad. I didn't know how this episode would go. This is going to be a total experiment, and I'm glad it went so well. So as a reminder to all you listeners, if you'd like to keep up to date with the podcast, you can follow us on our website at avocadogamescast.wordpress.com. There, we post each episode along with a link dump that fact checks stuff we say. I'm going to have to do a lot of very detailed fact checking on this episode because I don't know Kingdom Hearts lore, despite having played all the games. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. Just search for Avocado Gamescast. And please make sure you check out the community that spawned this podcast, The Avocado, at the-avocado.org, where we talk not only about video games, also about movies, music, TV, and loads of other good stuff. And thoughts, anything you want to plug or mention before we call this to a close?
Sure. If you are a fan of Star Trek, Avocado user Indeed and I are starting a podcast where we talk about Star Trek tie-in novels. It's called A Trek Through the Pages. There's nowhere that you can subscribe to it yet because we have yet to publish the first episode, but you can check out our Twitter at A Trek Through the Pages. Also, I make web series at Secret Message Productions, which is, you can check out the Twitter at SEKRIT message. And my next upcoming web series is about the members of a Starfleet Academy type organization in detention. So if any of that sounds interesting to you,